Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah. That's the opposite.
How much time do we need?
Just set it right on there. Thank you. That's it,
Cool.
unfortunately.
Well, or, yeah. Do the other stuff.
Thank you.
All right. That's fine.
All right. 2:08. Let's call this meeting to order. We'll begin with the roll call commission members. Commissioner Rubin. Here. Commissioner Fair.
Here.
Commissioner Ponce.
Here.
I'm here, and we have a quorum, and I'd like to begin with requesting the motion to approve minutes on February 6th, 2025 meeting. Commissioner, do you have a motion? So moved by Commissioner Fair. Second. Seconded by Commissioner Rubin. Commissioner Ponce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes. Motion carries unanimously, and the minutes will be posted on the commission's website. There are 4 projects on the agenda for today's meeting. Staff of the commission will present the project on the agenda and state their recommendations. Following the staff presentation, the committee will have an opportunity to ask questions of the staff. The applicant may then make a statement. Following the applicant's statements, members of the public may make their statements. I'd ask that anyone other than the applicant wishing to make a statement on today's agenda to complete a public comment card and give the comment to the card to a member of the staff. Comment cards are available at the door. As a courtesy to other individuals wishing to offer comments, we ask that members of the general public limit their statements to 3 minutes or less. When the time comes for public comment on the item on the agenda, I'll call the names in the cards and ask for that for you to make a statement. Please state your name, your interest, organization, the company you're representing. All right, our first project, 30 North LaSalle, the 34th Ward. Proposed exterior and interior rehabilitation of the existing office building for residential and office use, including ground floor storefront replacement, window replacement, curtain wall modifications at the 11th, 43rd, and 44th floors, rooftop addition, and work to the surrounding plaza as well as other alterations. And I'd like to call on Joyce Ramos for the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The 44-story glass and steel office tower was designed by architect Thomas E. Stanley II in the international style and was completed in 1974. The applicant is seeking preliminary approval on the redevelopment project to ensure that the work meets the Commission on Chicago Landmark Standards, so they can move forward with a proposal for Chicago Landmark designation and a Class L application. They are proposing to revitalize the building into commercial and residential use. The ground floor will be occupied by retail and lobby spaces. Floors 3 through 18 will be occupied by residential units with a residential amenity space on the 11th floor. Floors 19 through 42 will be occupied by offices with office amenity spaces on floors 43, 44, and on the proposed new roof terrace. The original storefront system was set back behind the exterior column shown here in red. The main entrance to the building was located at the south end of the east elevation and was set within a recessed double height window wall that extends along the southeast corner following the footprint of the main lobby. And north of the lobby on the east elevation and along the north elevation, the 2-story openings between the columns have non-historic storefront systems with solid spandrel panels installed in 1989 to conceal the floor structure on the 2nd floor. So here you can see the historic storefronts that were removed in 1989 from the 1989 renovation and were replaced with the storefronts that exist today that are shown in orange. And they align with the outside face of the columns. The applicant is proposing to replace the non-historic storefronts with a new compatible storefront system that more closely resembles the historic design. Its location shown here in the green lines is installed at the back of the columns, referencing the original recess and column exposure as much as possible. The applicant has agreed to replace all the non-historic storefronts. This was just not picked up on the store plan. On the floor plan is indicated in the dashed red cloud on the north side of the building. The new storefronts are shown as being replaced in the elevation drawings. So we'll just go through those. The original drawings of the east elevation are shown at the top with the 1989 renovation shown in the middle and the proposed new storefront system design shown at the bottom. And the proposed mullion spacing is similar to the original storefront pattern that consisted of 2 vertical mullions and 1 horizontal mullion each bay. The horizontal mullion will be raised to conceal the second floor slab edge, which was extended in the 1989 renovation from its original location that now connects to the back of the ground floor granite columns. The new storefront finish and profiles will match the original as closely as possible. The storefront glazing will be selected to match the appearance of the original storefront glazing, and any stone that's damaged during the removal of the non-historic storefronts is required to be repaired to match the original condition. So the photo at left shows the existing conditions on the east elevation that faces LaSalle Street, and the proposed rendering at right with a new office lobby entry with 3 new canopies above the doorways. And similarly for the north elevation that faces Washington Street, we have here the existing proposed, the original existing and proposed elevation drawings. And the new storefronts will match the historic design and configuration as closely as possible. I do want to note that on this elevation, as previously mentioned, the storefronts here were agreed to be replaced to match the historic as closely as possible. So all the storefronts will be consistent in appearance. Photo on the left here on this slide shows the existing conditions at the northeast corner of the building. And the rendering at the right shows the new storefronts and the proposed new canopies above the new office and residential entries. They're kind of small here, but there are the canopies here, and then there's another one right over here. And so the locations of the proposed canopies are approved in concept only. The design of the proposed canopies will require a permit review committee review at a future meeting. And large plans, elevations, and section drawings showing the design, size, and location, materials, and details of attachment should be submitted when ready. Above the second floor, all elevations are regularly fenestrated with groups of 3 fixed single-pane windows within each bay. The vision glass in these windows is dark and reflective, and dark spandrel glass divides each floor. All of the windows are proposed to be removed and replaced to match the color and transparency of the historic windows, and the historic black anodized aluminum mullions and horizontals will remain. The windows on the upper floors, which are floors 19 through 44 for office use, will be replaced with new compatible fixed double paned windows. And to accommodate the proposed residential use, the existing windows on floors 3 through 10 and floors 12 through 18 will be replaced with new compatible double paned windows that feature a 0 sightline operable awning window in the center opening. So the center window will have the operable panel. It will maintain the existing width and will be 4 feet 2 inches tall with a remaining 1 foot 9 inches as fixed glazing. The planes of the fixed and operable glazing will be aligned with a silicone joint that divides the two in a similar color as the tinted glazing to minimize its appearance and overall impact to the building. The applicant submitted the historic window details and the proposed window details for a side-by-side comparative analysis. And the new window framing at the head and sill is 1 inch taller than the historic framing, and staff recommend approval for the proposed new window, as this difference is slight and will be imperceptible when looking up at the building from the street level. Historic preservation staff recommend approval of the proposed new operable and fixed windows as proposed. And large detailed drawings of the head, jamb, sill, and sill should be provided with the permit drawings for all window types. And samples of the glazing should also be submitted for staff with the permit application for review. The 11th floor, currently a mechanical floor, is proposed to be repurposed as amenity space for residents and provide an outdoor terrace at the perimeter and an interior lounge, fitness, game room, and party room spaces. The applicant had considered various options on how to treat the exterior of this level, and the final option proposed is to remove the existing louvers to provide an outdoor terrace with a new glazed walls set back 1 bay. Staff recommend approval as it has limited impact on the overall facade. The staff further recommend that the ceiling, walls, guardrail, and any fixtures in the space that may be visible from the ground level be painted a dark color to match the curtain wall to minimize its visibility and not distract from the flat, unornamented glass and steel curtain wall. The top 2 floors of the building will serve as amenity spaces for the office. The proposed 43rd floor will have lounge and fitness rooms. And currently the 44th floor houses mechanical spaces and has no windows and is proposed to have new window openings to accommodate a new conference center and a 2-story open space. The applicant proposes to remove sections of the metal panel system on the north, east, and west elevations of the 44th floor to create these new window openings. A new glass and spandrel curtain wall system will be installed within the new openings to match the existing curtain wall on the lower floors as closely as possible. And the applicant provided 2 options for review, and staff recommends option 1, shown at left with the intermediate horizontal mullion, as it more closely resembles the existing window size and pattern on the floors below. As part of the new amenity, the office amenity spaces, a 13-feet tall glass and metal wall enclosure will house a new rooftop cabana and solarium. It will be set back 11 feet from the roof line on the north and west elevations and 77 feet from the east elevation. The existing elevator penthouse will also be expanded to include a 26 feet 4-inch tall elevator overrun enclosure. And this will be located behind the cabana solarium and is set back 45 feet 9 inches from the south elevation. An elevated roof terrace is proposed to be located just east of the cabana solarium and will be set back 11 feet from the east elevation. And a glass windscreen will be installed at the perimeter of the roof terrace and will be set back 11 feet from the east elevation. Given the height of the building, the rooftop addition will not be readily visible from the street within the immediate vicinity of the building, and the proposed addition will not affect the facade or roof line. Therefore, staff recommends approval for the massing, siding, and configuration of the addition. The metal cladding material should have a non-reflective finish in a color that minimizes any potential visibility. The applicant identified 3 locations for tenant signage on the building. 1 sign is proposed at the north end of the east elevation between the 2nd and 3rd floors that will be approximately 20 feet long and 3 feet high. The 2 signs proposed to be installed at the top of the building on the east and north elevations near the northeast corner of the building will be approximately 30 feet long and 4 feet high each. A monument sign is also proposed, located at the south end of the plaza that is along LaSalle Street, adjacent to the office lobby entrances shown here. And these signs are conceptual and show the general size and design as the tenant has not yet been selected. Staff recommend that the overall size and location of the proposed signs are approved in concept only. Design, dimensioning, quantity, and height above grade of the signs requires for future permit review committee review and zoning review. And large dimension, elevations, sections, and details shall be submitted for review when developed. New wall-mounted sconces are proposed to be attached to the stone columns at the base of the building, shown here. And they will be designed with a simple, minimally sized mounting plate fixed to the face of the granite. Design and dimensions of the typical sconce are preliminary, and it's anticipated that they'll be approximately 36 inches tall and 8 inches wide. Historic preservation staff recommends approval for the exterior light fixtures and concept, and the scale, finish, and design of the fixtures shall be compatible with the style of the building. Cut sheets and details of attachment shall be submitted for review. The applicant is also proposing to replace the non-historic paving and planters, as well as adding a new art feature at the northeast corner of the site. And staff recommends approval for the site improvements in concept and that the new plaza elements be low in scale to avoid blocking views of the building. Final design, sizes, and material selections for paving materials and any proposed built-in elements shall be submitted to staff for review when available. The 2nd floor will be used for leasing and management spaces. Staff recommend that the interior walls proposed in the space shall be relocated to terminate at storefront mullions to maintain transparency of the windows. Enlarged dimension plan details should be included in the permit drawings. And shown here is a typical floor plan for levels 3 through 10, 12, and 14 through 18. And these will be used for the new residential units. Staff recommends that the interior walls proposed to jog and terminate at window mullions within the residential and office floor shall be set back to maintain transparency of the windows. Enlarged dimension plan details should be included in the permit drawings for each unique condition for historic preservation staff review. Staff recommends approval for the project as shown on the drawings that were dated February 27, 2025. with the modifications and conditions mentioned during this presentation. Additionally, I also wanted to reiterate conditions 4 and 5, which are the overall size and general location of the proposed second floor and high-rise signs are approved in concept only. Design dimensioning, quantity, and height above grade of the signs requires future permit review committee and zoning review. Enlarged dimension elevations, sections, and details shall be submitted for review when developed. Condition 5, location of the proposed canopies is approved in concept only. Design of the proposed canopies will require permit review committee review at a future meeting. Large plans, elevations, and section drawings showing the design, size, and location materials and details of attachments should be submitted when ready. And I also wanted to read section conditions 7 and 8 that were not mentioned during my presentation. So condition 7 is any original stone damaged during the removal of any of the elements for the glass for the storefronts is required to be repaired to match the original condition. And then condition number 8 is the project as proposed may require relief from otherwise applicable zoning requirements pursuant to section 17-14-0202-L. The commission takes no position regarding any requested relief relative to the zoning code requirements. We've received letters of support from Alderman Conway, the Chicago Loop Alliance, and the Building Owners and Management Association of Chicago. And that concludes my presentation. The owner, architect, attorney are all here, so please let us know if you have any questions.
All right, well, thank you so much, Joyce. Commissioner, any questions for Joyce before we hear from the applicant?
Yeah, do you mind walking me back through for the 43rd and 44th floor, the north elevation in particular? I was trying to tease out, it's a little bit more obvious on the west elevation, but I couldn't really tell the difference for the, at the elevations.
Okay.
Yeah. Two options there.
Yeah, so it's this horizontal mullion. So on these floors, this is, well, okay, for these bays here is like a 2-story open space. And then there's actually a floor here with spandrel glass. And so just to continue that line, we thought it'd be appropriate to just have that line continue for that 2-story open space, as well as like the proportions of the windows kind of follow the floors below. Does that make sense?
It does. I'm maybe wondering if, so I'm just looking at the elevations just in the packet that we got, particularly for the north end. Totally understand just the difference in what the middle line mullion is, but maybe just in the drawings that we got, it's not showing how that carries over to the north elevation. Do you have the elevation drawing or comparison between the two in this packet, or?
So yeah, I think this is the north elevation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is that. Oh, yeah, you're right. That one doesn't show that horizontal.
But the intent is that it carries all the way, right?
Yeah. it's
Okay,
supposed to carry
got
all the way.
it, got it.
All right. And then just, so the hatched area, that's actually gonna be, would be a spandrel?
It's spandrel glazing, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
No, that-
Okay, thank you. I'd like to hear from the applicant, Mr. Legal and his team.
Thank you for having us here today. On behalf of ownership, my name is Lee Gollum, principal of Gollum Company. And 30 North LaSalle, we've been working on this project for a long time, part of the South Street TIF, and we've been working with the city planning department and our plan for the residential. We're here today for the Class L status because some of our plans for the residential originally had different moves. And for the Class L designation, we had to kind of redesign what we're doing, mostly the amenity floors. Downstairs is pretty much the same from a residential standpoint, but also as we got into the residential part of the redevelopment, we're now focusing a lot more on we have 600,000 square feet of office space above. So we're planning to do a major renovation to the office building as well to attract tenants that are out. We're building tenants right now in the marketplace, and Class L status, it's a pretty competitive marketplace. There's buildings there, and we're a great location. We believe in the food, everything here, and we're competing against other buildings with Class L and Class A buildings. So again, all the moves that we're making up here at the 11th floor, the 43rd, 4th, and 5th floor, basically the 45th floor being the rooftop, is really to enhance the ability to compete in the marketplace on that office. But because, we started doing all the residential designs over the last year and a half, and now as we start thinking about in the last 6 months more about the office above it, the class L status is really important.
For that, background, Commissioner, any questions for the application? No? Okay.
You're really this fast. Can we just talk about it? Let's come on, give them.
Okay, well, with that, let's go to public comment, portion of this, and, Ms. Kendra Parson has started to speak.
Thank you.
Right behind you.
My name is Kendra Farzan. I'm the Chicago Area Advocacy Manager for Landmarks Illinois. My organization has a bit of a fraught history with this building. The formation of Landmarks Illinois was inspired by the 1971 demolition of Adler and Sullivan's Chicago Stock Exchange building at the same location. Widely considered an architectural masterpiece, it was demolished to enable the construction of this building. It also led to the death of Richard Nickel, who was tragically killed while salvaging materials from the Stock Exchange building. Since our founding, the fight to preserve the Chicago Stock Exchange has remained a part of our identity, and the Stock Exchange arch has been included in every iteration of our logo. However, our organization also places a high value on the sustainable practice of reusing existing buildings. One of our organization's guiding principles is to promote the role of preservation in confronting climate change. We're particularly supportive of efforts to adapt existing buildings for the purposes of housing, a critical practice as our country faces an undersupply of housing at all levels. Therefore, despite our complicated history with this building, we are supportive of this project to adaptively reuse it. We thank the team behind the project for the opportunity to review their design in advance of the meeting. And we understand that, the staff has been working closely with the design team regarding details and their expertise in negotiation. So no comments on that front. But thank you for the opportunity to share our comments.
Thank you very much for your comments. One of the persons assigned to speak, Mr. Ward Miller.
Hi there. Good afternoon again. For the record, Ward Miller, Treehouse Executive Director of the nonprofit group Preservation Chicago. We're very proud to support the LaSalle Street Reimagined or LaSalle Street Revitalization Project and all the buildings that encompass this great revisioning, if you will, of our buildings in downtown Chicago. And 30 North LaSalle, this project was also, as Kendra mentioned, part of an earlier investment in LaSalle Street, even with the loss of Adler and Sullivan Stock Exchange building, which was tragic and ironically never landmarked under this ordinance and lost. And of course, Richard Nickel perished in the building on that site. And it's been one of those really tough moments in Chicago history where that's oftentimes a site that comes with a lot of different opinions of these buildings. However, we understand that this building was, as mentioned, a reinvestment in LaSalle Street, which is Chicago's Wall Street. And this is a remarkable component to the LaSalle Street Reimagined project. It will be a cornerstone of the project at LaSalle and Washington Street. And we recognize this huge investment that was made in 1974, even on the bones of the stock exchange. And also it will be a cornerstone and a huge project and shot in the arm for LaSalle Street in 2025 and beyond. And recognizing that we want to see these buildings recognized and worked and be working buildings. We very much support not only the changes to the structure, its sort of new uses, if you will, in combination, residential in combination with office use, but also the recognition of buildings of mid-century modern that we really don't have a very good collection of that are designated Chicago landmarks. So we do support this project. We do support the landmark designation of the building. We do we do support the conversion to residential and the changes that are proposed here. But this is very difficult for some of our preservation organizations, realizing what happened over 50 years ago, but we must move forward. And I just want to say that Golub has been a tremendous partner in Chicago and its development over time. They did a fabulous job on the Chicago Tribune Tower, which was converted to residential from offices. Remember, we just lost the Freedom Center to demolition and a new casino site. So our hats are off to Golub and their projects. They've done first-class work, and we look forward to seeing what 30 North LaSalle will look like. Thank you.
And add something?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ward. Appreciate that. You know, it's a little early, but even on the residential portion of the project, at least we've been thinking about how do we celebrate the stock exchange? And so in branding and in marketing pieces and even in interior design and other things, you know, that we think about, that's been a theme that the design team and the development team have been thinking about since day one. So just want to put that out there.
That's great. No, thank you for sharing that as well. No more folks have signed up to speak, so commissioners, any last discussion, final comments? All right.
Maybe
Question?
just a question for staff. I mean, this one, not designated landmark, is this line or is there any conversations about this one?
That's right. Yes.
And then I'm just dying to know, I mean, for the, this is architectural detail, but I'm just curious, do you recall the dimension of that caulk joint that's going to be at the operable windows? It's the.
That's approximate.
It's just seriously though, this is a detail that's commonly used and done in a lot of buildings where you really want the window operable portion to blend in.
Yep.
So it just, particularly in this instance, since it's kind of a gray tinted glass, even the renderings kind of show up, but you really, it's not going to be obvious. And we respect, I mean, within the context of what we're trying to accomplish here, you know, our objective is to do this as seamlessly as possible.
All right, well, thank you. I think there's some really nice moves in that. Definitely at the base, like there's a tremendous improvement. And you know, the little outdoor area, you know, working within the skeletons is really nice. So looking forward to that. And I did have a question on Class L, just for my own sake, and I don't know if others know, but when you do a building that has these multiple uses, does the residential fall, does it have to be partitioned out?
They will have multiple parcels established. Yes.
Okay, with that, no further discussion. I'd like to request a motion to adopt the staff recommendation. So moved by Commissioner Ponce. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Fair. Commissioner Rubin?
Yes.
Yes, I'm a yes. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you.
Or what time is that starting?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about your, I thought, like, you know.
Yeah.
I was just going back and forth, Chair, did you?
Our next project, item number 2, 1816 North Lincoln, 43rd Ward, Old Town Tribal District. The proposed removal of existing rooftop deck constructed without a permit in 2010 and replacement with a new modified deck. Emily Barton has a question.
Yes, thank you. Okay, subject properties located mid-block on the intersection of Wells Street and Lincoln Avenue at the edge of the Old Town Triangle District. The building, which was constructed in the 1870s, is considered to be contributing to the district. Per the applicant, an existing roof deck on the property was installed without a permit around 10 years ago. After receiving a violation citation from the Department of Buildings, the property owner reached out to historic preservation staff to discuss modifying the deck in order to bring it into compliance with the commission's guidelines and standards. The rooftop is unusually shaped, and smaller than many others in the district. The existing deck, which is highlighted in blue on the aerial, is located on the center of the roof with the most visible railings approximately 9 feet from the front facade parapet. It's currently approximately 13 feet by 12 feet and 160 square feet in area. The railings are silver with wire horizontal rails. So the owner is proposing to remove the existing deck and construct a new one that is smaller in size, lowered, and with an increased setback from the front parapet. The new deck will be approximately 8 feet by 12 feet and will be set back 16 feet from the front parapet wall. The new deck will be constructed at a lower elevation than the existing, which is to be removed. Please note that in the proposed elevation, the railings are shown as wood posts. However, the applicant is proposing to reuse the same wire design that the current deck has. And staff recommend that the silver parts be painted a dark, non-reflective finish to further minimize their visibility. So a physical mock-up was conducted on January 17th. You'll notice in all of these that the existing deck is still up, so you'll be able to see that in all of the photos. And any visible elements will again be dark horizontal metal railings, but the area has been highlighted in yellow, so you can just see it better for convenience. So this is from vantage point 1, looking west from the sidewalk across the street. It is just very minimally visible at the top rail there. The deck is more visible from this location, but it is outside the boundary of the landmark district at the corner of Lincoln and Clark. The deck is very minimally visible from this location looking south from the opposite side of the street. And it's not visible at all when you go a little bit further up Lincoln. The deck is not visible from this location looking west on the sidewalk above the street. And it is very minimally visible from this location looking northwest on the sidewalk across LaSalle. But if you move just a little bit further down, you can't see it at all from this location. So with that said, while the new proposed railings will still be minimally visible on secondary elevations from select vantage points to the south and north, the visibility has been significantly reduced and is comparable to the visibility of other rooftop additions and railings approved in the Old Town Triangle by the committee in the past. Between the limited visibility of the modified deck, the minimal design of the railings, and the unique shape of the roof, staff recommend approval as proposed. The Old Town Triangle Association and Alderman Knutson's office have reviewed the proposal, and letters of support from Old Town Triangle Association and an adjacent neighbor were included in your packet. So I'm here if you have any questions, as is the owner.
Right. Thank you, Emily. Commissioners, any questions for Emily before we hear from the owner team?
I have one. The deck is very nice. My question is that you mentioned the sightline from across the street, how that exits the historic district. So really effectively, all you have to do is cross the street, and if you can see the deck from there, I haven't thought about it in terms of just proximity of leaving the historic district by a matter of feet, how it changes how you would handle this.
It's obviously still something we pay attention to. Views within the district are the most important. Those are the ones that we really focus on. But yes, it is a weird little half street there.
Okay.
But again, we feel it is, even in that, you'll only see, a couple horizontal rails.
Okay, yeah, I mean, you handled it right. It's not like you walked away from the problem because you crossed the street. It's interesting how just that would affect the way you handle it, but
Yeah,
it's very practical
We
here.
care no matter what, but it's
Yeah.
especially important from within the district.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Question, I'm just trying to locate, in some of the images, there's like kind of like a black box. Is that the enclosure for the rooftop access, or where is the rooftop access?
It's that, you can see that slanted doghouse kind of in the back there.
So that's it.
That's it,
Okay,
yes. Yes. Yeah, that black bar, I think, is planters. Yeah, no, it's the sloped in the back.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Rubin. Thank you, Commissioner Fair. Any other questions? If there are none, I'd like to hear from the property owner. and their team.
Good afternoon, committee members. My name's Carl Yurtby. I'm the owner of this building. And also the applicant, of course. It's a rental building. And I don't really have anything to add beyond what's been presented. I'm happy to answer any other questions. I can say it's a unique property and where it's located and how it's been built over the years. And I tried to get my best solution for maintaining a deck for it's an investment property for me. So my renters can enjoy the outside without being noticed. Street.
Well, thank you, commissioners. Any questions?
No, it's just, we appreciate you working with the staff and reaching out to the staff to, come to the solution. And that's, something that we definitely like to see. And, as far as, commissioners comment on, seeing across the street, I was curious about the same thing, but I think the yellow highlight, maybe takes away from that, the fact that you thought about the color, revising the color. Thank you for reaching out to staff.
I actually have a question for preservation staff too. In the recommendations, you recommend a dark, non-reflective finish, which I understand, but as you notice in the photos, you're looking up against the sky, and I wonder if we might go to a lighter gray type as opposed to dark, and make the both of us.
I mean, that's just kind of our general for rooftop additions. That's
I
what we
don't
asked
want to,
for,
I don't
but
want to get painted into a corner.
but no, it's a good point. It's a good point.
Because you're always going to be looking up against
Yeah,
the sky.
against
which
the
is either
sky.
Brighter blues.
Yeah, I think the intent was to, when you're able to see it, you don't really know what it is. It could be from the building behind it. It could be just like a more complicated roof line, which is why the darker color, but that's a fair point.
Yes, commissioners, any feedback on that?
Flexible, in my opinion, it's a pretty flexible topic. With it being set back further and reduced in size, I mean, it's minimally visible. In support of the darker color, you can argue that, I think like Emily made, it blends in a little bit with the cornice that's at the building, but I think it's reasonable to have some flexibility there. I don't think it hurts it if it stays kind of what it dies kind of color it is now.
If you had to pick between camouflaging with the sky and camouflaging with the building, it probably would just default to the building. It looks like a piece of infrastructure. I think that's fine and appropriately ignorable.
So the condition
Yeah,
pay.
I think the condition sounds good. Yeah, it still leaves some flexibility. It's dark, There was one public comment. Oh, I just wanted to, appreciate the mock-ups. As Commissioner Ponce said, they're very helpful. For this item, but moving to public comment, we have one person to speak. Mr. Ward Miller.
Yes, so Ward Miller with Preservation Chicago, just want to emphasize that it's really wonderful that when we have an owner here that comes to us and we can work these to a good resolution. We've seen so many issues in the Old Town Triangle District, big challenges. And it's wonderful to see you working with the community as well as the city on this. It's a remarkable building. It's a really highly visible building in a lot of ways, maybe one of the most visible buildings in the Landmark District. I know you mentioned you've done a lot of work on the facade and restoring the building, and I want to commend you for that. This is really a remarkable district as a whole, and to get a letter of support from the Old Town Triangle Association, especially when there's been so many problems just to the south of this property, is really incredible. So thank you for working with everybody and resolving the issue. And it also shows the flexibility of the Landmarks Commission and Landmark staff. And I think that's something that really needs to be promoted better. So oftentimes you hear people getting too excited about landmarks in a not so great way. So this is really showing how we all come together and work these things out. Just wanted to share. Thank you.
Appreciate your comments, Mr. Miller. That's the end of the public comment portion of this. If there's any final discussion, commissioners, if there's none, then I'd like to request a motion to adopt the staff recommendations for the project. Motion by Commissioner Rubin, and we have a second. Second by Commissioner Fair. Commissioner Ponce.
Yes.
So yes, and I'm yes, and the motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Your time.
Moving on to item number 3, 4547 South Openwall, and the 4th Ward. It was multiple resource district, the proposed restoration of a sandstone facade with a combination of replacing deteriorated stone, redressing existing stone, and repairing existing stone with repair mortar as necessary. And Tyler.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. The, this is for 547 South Openwald. The subject property is a 3-story brick and sandstone building. It's part of the North Kenwood Multiple Resource District, located mid-block on the east side of Openwald between 44th Place to the north and South Lake Park to the south. It is this building right in the center. It shares a party wall with its neighbor to the north, which was likely built at the same time. The historic sandstone facade is severely deteriorated, with some units cracked, spalling, eroded, and some units are missing entirely. At some point, a parch coat was also added over the stone above the porch on the section of wall containing the 2 arched windows, as well as on the face of the dormer within the mansard roof above. To address the condition issues, the applicants are proposing to restore the facade using a combination of replaced units, restored units, and units repaired using a restoration mortar. On this facade drawing provided by the mason, the units to be replaced entirely are identified in pink. The new units are proposed to be Borrego, Ohio sandstone. Some of the units identified in light yellow are proposed to be cleaned with any loose or flaking stone removed. And the remaining units, color-coded orange, are proposed to be repaired using a mineral-based restoration mortar. The concrete parch coat is shown in blue. The condition of the stone beneath the parch coat is not known. When the parch coat is carefully removed, the condition of the stone will be assessed and the appropriate repair methods determined. In addition to the work to the stone, all mortar joints are proposed to be tuck-pointed. The product proposed to be used to restore some of the damaged stone is a mineral-based repair mortar called Reconstec 200 that's specifically formulated for use with natural sandstone. Staff contacted the manufacturer, Sika Canada, to confirm this is an appropriate material for the proposed application. They confirmed that if applied in layers according to the manufacturer instructions, this is an appropriate application. Staff also confirmed that with the the application method noted in the recent scope of work matches the manufacturer's application instructions. The proposed work will restore the historic facade while retaining as much of the original stone as possible, and staff recommends approval with these conditions. So they are that confirming what I just presented, the site visit to confirm the condition of the stone beneath the non-historic parch coat, and conditions related to the matching the color, texture, shape, etc. for both the stone units, the new stone, the repair of mortar, and the mortar joints. Let's try to, so that you can see the new mortar joint should match the size of existing joints, and the color should be a natural color without pigment. Alderman Robinson has received the proposal and has not provided comments. The Kenwood Oakland Community Organization was also contacted but did not offer comment. The mason and owner, unfortunately, were unable to be here today, but the owner is aware of the recommendations and is in agreement with them.
Okay, well, thank you, Tyler. The owner's not here. No representatives are here, right? No. Interesting. Commissioners, any questions?
Yeah. I had questions about the product, maybe just for you all for staff. I mean, sounds like it's the first time dealing with the, I forget the name of it off the top of my head.
It is this, it's Reconstec.
Yeah.
200. No, we were also, I mean, have concerns about its use. It's kind of designed for things like filling in details or patching. So we really wanted to make sure that it is, and it's gonna last a while. That's why we trust, we don't get into means and methods and we don't reach out to product manufacturers. So that we did this time around. It was also sort of, usually this type of project, we're looking at replacing, all of the stone on the facade. When you're get to replacing, say, 70% of the stone, it gets kind of risky, so we've agreed to approve this method with these conditions so that in order to retain as much of the original historic stone as possible.
I think, I mean, you guys have it called out, right, in your recommendation, just to, make sure you guys have that checkpoint with them to kind of review it on site. I mean, I'm assuming, the product can be pigmented, that's gonna be a little bit of a science experiment there to try to see.
It's a little tricky because you can see this sandstone is actually sort of a light orange color, and then the surface becomes gray with age. So it'll be a tricky match. We'll have a site visit to match materials and then another site visit to confirm once work is actually underway to confirm the condition of the stone beneath the parch coat.
I think it's got great potential, just from the owner's perspective, likely cost savings. But, if there was some notes to add, maybe just to, your site visit, I'd be curious to kind of see the product in its applications on the 100% restoration as well as the 70%. So to get a sampling of both, because I'd imagine as it cures over time, the finish arguably may have different colors, and soon the texture will be the same through, but I think it could be really a good success story. But I wonder if it's found to not meet, the level of quality, what's their alternative on this?
Full
Have they
replacement.
showed-
Full replacement?
have they showed precedent?
So this building next door, which we'd have a close-up here, was actually used the same product.
That's
Yeah.
That's not a stock image, that's a.
No, that's a real,
Oh, okay.
That's
The neighbor.
That's the neighbor?
This work was done by the same basin.
When was that?
2020. Yeah.
2020.
Okay.
This work was done by the same mason that is working on this project now. He worked for a different company at the time, but he's the one that did the drawing and will be doing the.
That's helpful. That's more encouraging.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, it's promising. I mean, from your perspective, you went out there?
Yes, these are,
From your perspective,
yeah.
it-
Yeah, I think the thing, that's one of the pigment that was used, the mortar joints for this building match the color of the stone. And so that it all kind of reads as one surface. So that's why we wanted to be careful that this time that it is a natural color so that you can just read the individual stone units a little better.
All right, commissioners, any other questions before we? There's no one signed up to speak on this item, so we won't have public comment. And then that pushes us to final discussion. And if there are none, then I'd like to request a motion to adopt the separate, well, they're modified staff recommendation. Did you want to see another site? Can we pull the staff recommendations up?
You've got the two visits already that you mentioned, I think, if it needs to be stipulated here, it's just, wanting to see, I think the product applied in both the 70% and the 100% restoration condition. So essentially they should give you a few sample, locations where they mocked it up. With that amendment, I guess.
A modified motion on the table.
Sounds like what I would do too.
That's a second by Commissioner Rubin.
Seconded.
Commissioner Ponce.
Yeah.
I'm a yes, and motion carries unanimously, so thank you. And be a surgical experiment.
Next to us.
Yeah. All right, moving on to item number 4, final item, 2019 West Cortez, First Ward, Ukrainian Village District. The proposed interior and exterior rehabilitation of existing 4-unit building into a 2-unit building, including modification of the west elevation, new side additions, and a new rear garage. And I'd like to call Emily Barton for the presentation.
Well, thank you, Chairman. So this subject property is located mid-block between Damon Avenue and Hoyne Avenue. It's a 2-story masonry building with 4 dwelling units. The current owners propose to convert the building to house 2 units with a basement apartment and then a residence that they will live in on the upper 2 floors. So staff received a permit application for this in January, and because the scope includes visible side additions, that is why it is being referred to the RC. So the historic building here is located on a 38-foot wide by 125-foot deep lot. This is an unusual characteristic in the district, which typically features 25-foot wide lots with minimal side yards. The applicant is proposing to make modifications to the west side elevation, which has a side yard of approximately 16.5 feet. So historically, this side yard has been empty and is shown vacant as early as the 1914 Sanborn map. But because of this, any modifications will be visible from the street. So all the masonry openings on the west elevation are proposed to be modified and new windows installed to accommodate their interior layout, shown in red. The new windows are proposed to be double hung and similar in size to the existing non-historic windows and will feature the same arched masonry headers and stone sills as existing. The existing double door is proposed to be removed and a new light well will be added for the basement unit. From this light well towards the south, a new raised stone porch is proposed to accommodate the new entrances incorporated into the new additions, which is kind of hard to see, but it's highlighted in purple. All new infill masonry required will be common brick to match the existing conditions. So there are 2 new side additions being proposed towards the rear of the property. The first is 8.5 feet in length and will extend out only about 3 feet from the existing west wall. This addition will be set back approximately 43 feet from the front facade and is proposed to be clad in cementitious panels in a dark tone with clear vision glass glazing. As proposed, this bay is quite ornamental, and for it to better respect the existing building and not be confused potentially as an original feature, staff recommends the design be simplified by removing those ornamental columns. The second addition is located behind the first and is simpler in design. This addition is proposed to be set back approximately 55 foot 8 inches from the front facade and about 5 feet from the south end of that first addition. So this one will be partially obscured by the first one, and it is proposed to be clad in common brick, matching the remainder of the elevation. It will project 4 feet out into the side yard and features a curved slope roof. Per the architect, this design is best for water shedding, and if simplified to a straight line, would need to be taller, increasing visibility. There is some precedent for side additions in the district, including at 1115 North Damon, which features a side addition as early as 1914. Many other buildings in the district feature historic original masonry bays that project into the side yard. The additions are minimal in design and projection and are set back as far as possible to reduce their visibility. Staff recommends approval as proposed, providing the detailing of the first addition closest to the street be simplified by removing the columns. And then any removed masonry should be salvaged and reinstalled where possible, with any new masonry to match Chicago common brick. At the rear of the property, there's currently a concrete parking pad which accommodates 4 vehicles. The applicant is proposing to construct a new garage in its place. This garage would also be clad in Chicago common brick, matching the side and rear elevations of the main house. It's about 15 feet in height with a roof deck on top. In order to accommodate 3 cars, 2 for the main unit and 1 for the new basement unit, the garage is proposed to be 35 feet in length, extending almost the entire width of the lot. Because of this, the garage will also be visible from Cortez Street. Most properties in the district have the smaller lots as I discussed, with garages similarly spanning their entire width. However, because of the minimal side yards, these are rarely visible from the street. There is also, however, historic precedent for wider garages in the district. And because of these historic examples, the minimal design of the new garage and the significant setback, staff recommend approval as proposed. Between the existing house and the new proposed garage, a basement level connection circled in red is proposed. This will be an open air breezeway with a patio on top and is located entirely behind the existing building. The existing non-historic canopy over the porch is proposed to be removed along with the non-historic steps and railings. The new railings are proposed to be pipe rail with newel posts and new limestone steps. Front doors are likely original to the house and were proposed to be replaced. After discussions with staff, the doors are now suggested to be refinished and reinstalled. The operation of the western door will be flipped in order to mirror the other one as a traditional double door would, with the door to the east being fixed in place and the basement unit being accessed from the rear and the side. This will maintain the historic doors and, more importantly, the historic trim there in the middle. And staff recommend approval. In addition to the windows on the west elevation, the remainder of the building's non-historic windows and aluminum panning will be removed and replaced with new aluminum clad wood windows with appropriate profiles. Staff recommend approval of this scope as proposed with the condition that the permit drawings be revised to show the reuse of the doors. There are two chimneys on the west elevation of the building. They are no longer functional and are in disrepair. The applicant's proposing to remove them both as they no longer serve a purpose for the house. They're very simple in design and constructed of common brick with some non-historic repairs at the top, you can see, made in the past with very minimal corbelling at the bottom. And they are visible from the street due to their wide side yard. However, the applicants provided a letter from their mason explaining that the chimneys show significant signs of erosion and cracking and recommending their removal. So while likely original to the house, they are no longer functional, not decorative in design, and in disrepair, and staff recommends that their removal will not be an adverse effect. So with that said, the project is approved as shown on the permit drawings with the following modifications: that the front elevation be revised to show the existing doors being retained, and the northernmost side addition be revised to remove the decorative columns. And again, as always, any new masonry or mortar shall match the existing conditions. The Ukrainian Village Neighbors Association and Alderman Laspada's office are contacted. They're aware of the proposal, but no formal comments have been received. So if you have questions for me, we also have architect and ownership here. If you have questions for that.
Thank you, Emily. Commissioners, any questions for Emily before we hear from you? Seeing none, let's hear from the ownership team and the project architect.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the commission for your time today, and for Emily and Tyler for all of their time working with us on this so far. My name is Mindy Villamontes. I'm a partner at Villamontes Architects, and I'm joined today with Station Zoom, who are our clients. They purchased this building back in 2020. It dates back to 1898. It's currently a 4-flat that they're renting, and it's in quite a state of disrepair, as you've seen from the photos. This has been really a labor of love. We've been working with them since the end of 2022. They're really pouring their hearts into the project. We're really, really excited for their family who intends to live here as their long-term house, and they're putting a huge investment into the property. So again, thanks to the staff for working with us on this one. We're really excited to get the project started, and I think it's going to be a great improvement to the neighborhood.
Thank you so much. Commissioners, any questions for Steve Montes and the ownership?
I have a question. With the chimney removals, obviously they're not practical anymore to do anything. Is the massing of the chimneys on the exterior of the building in the way of the new window openings? What was the
Well,
rationale for
so
removing
we originally had looked at keeping them. So the chimneys weren't ever serving fireplaces. This has always been a 4-flat for the entire use of the building. They were originally serving boilers that were in the basement. So they had an 8-inch diameter pipe in them, which the sizing for the chimneys, even if we were to keep them, they're not large enough for us to actually use them or run anything
through them, so they're not functional. They've also been leaking for some time. And again, because it's rentals, there's just been a lot of disrepair. There's a lot of plaster work and other visible leaking that's happened on the interior. When we talked with staff originally, we went back and forth whether or not they could be kept. We could have worked around the existing windows, so that was not the issue. It seemed kind of crazy for us to invest additional money into repairing them, keeping them. They would have had to been basically taken down and reconstructed for no purpose.
Sure.
And we're very happy with Emily's recommendation that they can come down.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's particularly a character defining feature of the
Yeah.
building, just something that was there before. Okay, that's satisfying. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioners, any other questions?
I don't have a question, just a comment, a compliment to everybody who is taking part in this process. In order to come to the solution, as you call it, a labor of love, a long labor of love. And I appreciate the staff recommendations, while minimal, I really appreciate the front doors, being kept. And I think it's, maybe seem minor, but it's actually quite huge and to see those doors being kept, so, yeah.
Commissioner Ponce, anybody else? Okay, no further questions from the commissioners. Public comments, there are none. Nobody has set up to speak. Final discussion. Nice job.
Good luck.
Okay.
I'm gonna make a motion to accept the staff recommendations.
All right, Commissioner Perez made a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Ponce, Commissioner Rubin.
Aye.
Aye, and I'm an aye as well, and the motion carries unanimously. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are at the end of our, for me, there's no further business for today. We have a motion to adjourn. So moved. Seconded by Commissioner Ponce, moved by Commissioner Barrett, Commissioner, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all.
Thank
Great.
Like,
You know?
No.
Are